Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics and Living, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about the daunting stat that for every 100 new converts into Catholicism is losing 850 people. And what can we learn from this and how maybe this is a good thing? Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto. Secutor in principio et nunc et semper. Secula seculorum. Amen. So I came upon this stat that for every 100 new Catholics we're getting, the Catholic Church is losing 850. And we had talked about it not that long ago, maybe over a year ago, where there was a similar study and I did a video on that. And look, this might be shocking to some of you and it might not be shocking to some of you. I think maybe those who would be shocked would be those who live in a super trad cat bubble where you see all these new converts coming in and the faith is very fervent. But I think the majority of you guys who grew up in Novus Ordo parishes are not surprised by this stat. You might be surprised that we're even getting 100 every 100 new converts. But we're still hemorrhaging people. And we can talk about why this is. It's poor catechesis. It's certainly us becoming and embracing more of the values of this world, and looking at essentially mainline Protestantism, who's been hemorrhaging the last 50 years, be like, you know what? Let's do everything they're doing, but actually they're losing enrollment. Shut up. Let's just emulate what they're doing. So we essentially have, in a lot of Novus Ordo parishes, and certainly with a lot of social teachings, and in these parishes, you'll find centering prayer, you'll find the Joan Baez, Bob Dylan music, all these things that clearly haven't worked. So the bishops know about these studies. They've been tracking the rate of baptisms and weddings and all these things. They know what's going on. And the sad thing is, like, you see this kind of oblivious nature where it's always like, oh, look, this parish has great renewal. Oh, this diocese has great renewal. No, as a whole, pretty much every diocese in America is losing Catholics. Now, many of them are becoming nuns. They're just nothing, not affiliated, not even. And some are becoming evangelical Protestant. None are going mainline Protestant because those are pretty much moribund. Then there's some that are going Orthodox. So is this what can we do about it? Well, I think the best thing to do is the Vatican and certainly the USCCB just be honest. Instead of just trying to paint this positive rosy picture of this renewal, everything's great, no. Go to the typical Our Lady of Suburbia parish. Go, and you will see the average age is probably going to be 60. So I think it'd be great if the USCCB, or even up in the Vatican Curia, just be honest, but yeah, we're hemorrhaging people, especially in the West. We're hemorrhaging. We're just losing tons of people. What we've been doing the last 50 years has not been working. And to go as far as to say, and I know this would be blasphemy for the lefties, but the Novus Ordo Mass has been a failure. And it has been a failure in terms of the numbers. If you look at the numbers, people started to leave in around 1970. Now, they left for other reasons, but the shock of the new Mass hasn't been good. The new Mass has not been good. We've tempered a lot of the Spirit of Vatican II abuses that have gone on in the liturgy, but overall, our liturgy as a whole, still in America, is pretty lackluster. So step one would be the bishop, your bishop being, yeah, we're hemorrhaging numbers. We're just hemorrhaging. We need to fix this. What can we do about it? Instead of just being like the emperor has no clothes. I think in the long run, honestly, this is a good thing because these bishops have a lot of pride. And instead of trying to be like, oh yeah, I know the numbers, but let's paint it as positive, even though the average age of a lot of these suburban Catholics is like 70. Let's keep going what we're doing. That's the definition of insanity. But how about what they should be doing is let's look at the numbers. Which parishes are growing? And more often than not, the parishes that are growing in any diocese or archdiocese in the United States are the traditional parishes. Whether they have a Latin Mass or they're part of the ordinary chair of St. Peter, or maybe they just have a reverential Novus Ordo Mass, or they just have a dynamic pastor or whatever it is. And you would think if these bishops had humility and if the Curia had humility, they'd be like, you know what? We've been hemorrhaging for decades. There's a new study that shows we're hemorrhaging. Let's do what these parishes that are growing are doing. I mean, I should have had a V8, right? The old commercial. This seems like common sense Let's emulate what the parishes that are growing are doing. Oh, that parish, they have really good solemn masses with good reverential music. Let's do that. Oh, that parish maybe has a Latin mass. Let's do that. Oh, that parish might have altar rails and you're not looked down upon or hated if you want to receive on your knees the Eucharist, or maybe they're ad orientem. Let's do that. But they're not going to do that. The majority of bishops are not going to do that, because the majority of bishops are chosen because they're really good administrators, or, it's like politicians, right? You went to the right school, like the Roman American College, or favors, you're in that position. But in the long run, I think it's good. Why? Pope Benedict talked about how the church was going to get smaller. He predicted this. I think it's good in some ways that for every 100 converts, we're losing 800. Because let's look at the quality over the quantity. Probably the 100 converts we're getting are going to be pretty good Catholics. Think of EWTN. Most of the workers, the apologists over there, are converts. We're going to get people who care about their faith. And the 840 for every 100 that we're getting, those 840 are not, clearly they're not well catechized, because they wouldn't be leaving the evangelical churches or becoming non-affiliated or atheists if they were well catechized. But these are people that have a lukewarm faith. And we know what Christ talks about in Revelation. He spits out the lukewarm. So in some ways, I think if the church gets so small, eventually the bishop, whoever the bishop is in 50 years in a given diocese, will finally have to look at the one or two parishes that are working and be like, yeah, look, we're desperate. These are the parishes working, and they'll embrace the more traditional Catholic view. I think at that point, kind of reminds me, and this is a bad example, but the Reconquista. So the Reconquista, the Muslims took over Visigothic Catholic Spain in the 8th century. And they came over through Morocco, and they took over all of the Iberian Peninsula up to this little area called Asturias, which is on the northern coast of Spain. And the Christians were able to hold them off. So you had this very little Christian kingdom, but it was vibrant because it was the only Christian kingdom left. And as the Muslims, the Moors, were coming across Spain, you had a lot of those Catholics that were in Andalusia and in central part of Spain. They apostatized. They're like, oh, the Muslims are here. Yeah, I'm not Catholic. Yeah, I'm fine. So you saw a lot of people just leave their faith. But in Asturias, that was the hardcore faith. They were the last pocket. And what did you see from 711 AD, 718? Battle of Covadonga was 718. So 718 to 1492, that little remnant eventually spread and beat the Moors out of the Iberian Peninsula in 1492, and then eventually Spain went abroad to the New World and spread the faith over there. And I don't think it's a great analogy, but in some ways, I think this is where we're at. Let the lukewarm leave. Christ, 2 Corinthians says that God strives that all are saved. We want everyone to be saved, but ultimately God gave us free will, right? So if people want to leave, I can't stop them. I can evangelize like I do with this small channel, but we can't stop them. So I think eventually it's going to be good that the church will get so small, but it's going to be lean. And the people that are remaining are going to be people will be like, yeah, I'll die for the faith. It'll be like early Christendom. Yeah, I'll die for the faith. And from that small pocket, explosion, and it's going to regrow. That's my prediction. Could be wrong. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Do you worry about the future? I would love to hear from you. What is your take? Until next time, take care. God bless you.